The countdown to spooky season is officially on, and in the mystery journal we're leaning into a whimsigoth aesthetic. October is my birthday month, and I always either seem to go with something witchy or something pink, so for this setup I thought, why not try both? A little bit magical, a little bit historical, and a little bit fairy tale too. If you'd like to journal alongside me, then grab your notebook now and we're gonna get set up for October in the mystery journal. Hi, my name's Erin, and I made a new little video intro card. Do you like it? I'm working in this A5 journal from TIEFOSSI. This one is the Moonlight Melody journal in blue, and you can tell from the page edges that we're about halfway through the journal at this point. As always, if you're keen on any of the stationery you see me using in this video, there are links to everything in the description down below. I got these A5 artwork cards from Premiere Crafts in one of their subscription boxes last year, and I thought this could make a really fun cover page, but we deconstruct it. So I've taken my craft knife and a cutting mat, and I'm just cutting out the frame around the outside. I'm going to use the outside part of this frame for the basis of my October cover page, and we'll actually end up using the inside part for the facing page too. These are a little on the thicker side, so they are going to bulk up the journal a little bit, but I really like the imagery here of the gnarled tree, and I really like the way it's introducing the color scheme for me. So it's a bit of a trade-off, but it's one I'm willing to make. The size of the card is also the size of the cover of this journal, so it's a little bit too big to fit on the page as is. I'm going to need to cut it down just a little bit to make it work. So what's this mystery journal concept I keep talking about? Well, this journal I actually set up way back in April and May. Every single month of it from July through to December I set up in April and May, and then I gave it away to a subscriber. That's why you're seeing this set up on my old desk. I actually don't have this desk anymore. It's really fun for me to have an opportunity to use some more of my stationery and do 2 themes every month. It's also a chance for me to do some different layout styles to give you some different ideas, especially for one that's maybe a little more accessible. My own journal is very much tailored to me as a self-employed creator of YouTube videos, so I know that's not the case for everyone. And it's really fun for me to be able to give something to someone in my community as well that hopefully they will get some good use out of. So that's the mystery journal in a nutshell, and this one in particular I wanted to have a through line through all of the themes inside. In last year's mystery journals I kind of just did whatever felt good and whatever worked with the stationery that I had, but for this one I wanted every theme to feel a little bit magical. The card frames obviously already have a bit of a fairy tale vibe going on, but I think when you add in the stained glass sticker, that's when the magic really starts to come alive. That one is from JOURNALSAY, and I've had my little collection of stained glass window stickers for so long, I'm just slowly working my way through them all. The medieval style script washi tape I'm using here is also from Premiere Crafts. That and the lettering style on it is what's bringing our slightly historical element to this theme that I mentioned earlier. I knew I really wanted to feature that stained glass window sticker on the right page there, but it felt a bit strange just hanging in the middle of the frame, so I'm using this washi tape and also some stickers we haven't seen yet to give it kind of an anchor, a background, so it's not just hanging there nonsensically. Sometimes I go into my theme setups with a really specific idea in mind, and sometimes I kind of just play. I get a whole bunch of things out that are in the right color palette and I mess around with them until something works. And that was very much the case for this one. I find that that's my default lately, is to play rather than to plan too much. And most of the time it works out pretty okay. It's definitely a lot of fun just to kind of follow your instincts and create something out of stickers and tapes and paper. These cloud stickers on the PET tape roll are from JOURNALSAY, and they're actually a twin to a blue version of these that I used in the very first setup in this journal all the way back at the beginning. So it's kind of nice to have them as a through line. The clouds are giving us a little bit of consistency between layouts. They're not in every layout, but they are in 2 of them. I'm doing a lot of messing around with the placement of my clouds and my washi tapes behind my stained glass sticker, so I wasn't ready to commit that to the page until I knew everything was right where I wanted it, but now I'm very happy to go ahead and stick this down. There is still a little bit more negative space than I'd like around the frame though, so I'm going to use some of the tiny stickers and fill those spaces in. I also want to bring some of the clouds over to the left page because I want this to really feel like a theme. So the more things recur, the more there is repetition, the more things will start to feel cohesive and like a theme. I really wanted an uncial script style for all of my lettering for this setup, but I haven't learned how to do that as calligraphy yet, so instead, I thought I'd DIY stickers for all of my headers with my Cricut. And I promise you, since I set this up back in April or May or whenever it was, I have definitely improved with my offsets for my stickers. There is so much white space around that October that doesn't really need to be there. I have gotten a lot better at that, but for now, I was still learning. The Cricut offset tool is not always the best way to do things, so I've gotten much better at working out where my cut line should be, thanks to some tutorials and some techniques that have me using Photoshop for that now instead of Cricut Design Space. I liked where we were going with the theme, but I really wanted to ground it, so I'm introducing some black celestial and gothic washi tapes here. I really wanted that black to give us kind of an anchor and some depth in the setup, and also my lettering in my stickers for the headings is all black, so I wanted to tie that in as well. I wasn't sold on this vertical placement for this silver tape here. See, I covered it up and was like, no, that's not the go. But I did really like the effect of it in general. I thought it was a good fit for the theme and I wanted it here in some capacity. So rather than several of the tiles of this design, I'm just going to include one and rip it on the diagonal so it can still be included. It can act kind of like a little corner frame and introduce that piece of stationery so that it makes sense when it shows up multiple times later on in the setup. I liked the idea of them acting like a frame so much, and of course we've got a frame on the right page, it sort of made sense to bring that through as a theme as well. So I'm drawing a little star with a purple tombow, and I'm going to use that as the center of a framing line that's on both the left and right side of the cover page here. If you want a frame to look really fancy, I recommend doing 2 lines rather than just one, and I wanted to add even more depth, so I'm using a kind of pinkish red instead of the purple for both lines, so we've got a little bit of color variation. I'm feeling good about the cover spread, so let's turn the page and get started on the calendar. Usually I'd use a Sakura Pigma Micron pen for this, but since I had just used the ruler and the bullet end of one of my tombos, I thought why not just commit to that and do the calendar in this deep eggplant purple as well. This is basically my default setup for a calendar. It just has boxes that are 4 spaces by 4 spaces, and I've made some stickers with my same font for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday along the top of the calendar as well. This font is called Luminari, in case you like the look of it. It has the roundedness that I really like of uncial script, but I think it's quite Italian, like italic style as well. I don't know. My history knowledge of lettering is not that good yet, but I'm working on it. There's a decent amount of space left around the calendar too that I'm going to fill in with some decoration, but this time I'm going to start with my darkest elements and work my way lighter. I'm also going to introduce some new things as far as the pink elements. This gorgeous PET tape is from the Quirky Cup Collective. I didn't really have a place for it on the cover spread, but I'm definitely making sure it has its moment over here. I'm also going to bring back my pen and ruler frame because I really liked the way that looked, and when you have a few things that are kind of just floating in space and you want to make them make sense with each other, literally drawing a line from one to the next is all you really need to do with that. So if you're ever struggling with a layout and it's feeling disconnected, try just connecting things with lines. I think it works really well. Something that's a little bit wild to think about is that I'm about to start work on the next mystery journal, which will cover from January through to June of 2026. I've already started sketching out the first layout. I haven't put any pen or tape or stickers in the journal yet, but I think I know what our overarching theme is going to be, and I think I even know what the theme will be for the first setup in the journal. So make sure that you're subscribed and watch this space if you're keen to see what that journal looks like, or maybe even enter to win it. The giveaway will open in November, so there's a little bit of time yet, but I just wanted to let you know in case it was something you would be interested in. That's our calendar spread all sorted, so let's move on to the next one. If you've seen any of the other setups in this mystery journal from July onwards, then you'll already know what pages are going to be in here because I don't want to change it up on the person that wins the journal. So say I give them a place in July to track their goals. I don't want to then not give them a space in August to track their goals, or in October or whatever. So the pages themselves, the function of the pages remains the same from one month to the next. But I will try to vary the way that I set them up, the layouts that I use, so that they function the same way but look a little bit different. And of course, I do like to decorate them differently every month as well, so they will always feel a little bit different too. Speaking of a place for goals, I thought goals was a little bit too dry for this journal that I wanted to feel really magical, so we're calling it manifesting instead. And the section below that I've just called enjoying. That is a little place to keep track of things that you are vibing with that month. So if you're watching a particular TV show or listening to a particular podcast or find that you're really, really into a certain style of junk food, that's where you can keep note of it. It's just a little snapshot of what you're into at that time, and that's the kind of thing I personally really enjoy looking at when I look back over a journal, so I thought it would be a fun thing to include. And I think there's power in having these little stock takes and being like, what do I like right now? Because that tells you a little bit about who you are right now. Something else that is always powerful to include in a journal is a gratitude log, so that's what I'm using the right page for here. I feel like these pages make sense together in a functional way, but also because the way I can set them up looks almost like a mirror of each other, and I really like that symmetry. The gratitude log is just a space to put a few words every day for something that you are grateful for. It doesn't even have to be a full sentence, it can be like 3 words, and that is totally fine. The idea of keeping a gratitude log and writing this down every single day is to try to train your brain into looking for positive things everywhere you go and in everything that you do, so that you start to recognize those and hopefully in doing so feel more present and more connected with the world around you. It has been a while since I had a gratitude log in my own journal. It's always something I like to include in the mystery journal, but in my own journal it has been some time, but I'm feeling like it might be fun to bring it back. It's something that I think would be really enjoyable for me. We're coming into spring in Australia right now, and the weather is warming up and everything does feel kind of quite positive and nice, so it's something I'm already thinking about. It wouldn't be out of my way to keep a gratitude log, so maybe you'll see one of these in my next October setup, which will be for my own journal too. That's the spread that's kind of a snapshot of where you're at right now. This next spread is for tracking things to keep you moving in the direction that you want to be going. These 2 pages make so much sense next to each other for me as well, so they're something I always like to pair together. The left page is for tracking habits, and the right page will be for tracking mood. I don't like to go too hard on habit trackers in my own journal, so I don't want to give the winner of this journal like 12 and have them feel like they have to track 12 different habits that are new to them. That's so overwhelming. But I think 6 is a pretty good sweet spot for me, so that's around about what I like to include in this journal too, because that way you can have something that you were working on from last month, or maybe a couple of those. You can introduce something new, and if 6 is too many, you can just leave some blank. Of course, I have made sure there are 6 trackers on the habit tracker every time, so that the winner of this journal, if they are tracking 6 habits across the whole 6 months that this journal covers, they don't have to lose any or come up with any new ones. They can just keep the same 6 going if they want to. And not all habit trackers have to be, this is a new habit that I'm trying to introduce into my life, something like flossing every day or getting regular exercise. Not all of them have to be things that you do every day. Some of them can be things that you do a couple of times a week, and some of them can be more observational, so that this thing happens this often. Yes, I did just put the mood heading down here because I guess I was spacing out and I wasn't really paying enough attention. I will work that out and fix it, but for now, I'm so sorry if that's bothering you. It's bothering me too. It does look kind of nice up there, all framed in by the clouds though, I will say. I've just worked it out, so let's see if I can peel this up without ruining anything that's underneath it. Not a huge deal if I do, because I am just going to put another sticker over it anyway. This is the correct one to go here, and the mood heading is going to go smack in the middle of the right page because I'm doing one of my favorite styles of mood tracker here, and that is an illustrative mood tracker that I don't need to illustrate a thing for because I'm going to use stamps. So why would someone want to track their mood? There are a bunch of reasons, and it can be different for everyone. Tracking your mood is another one of those kind of mindfulness activities that makes you more aware of yourself and your surroundings. Anyone can do it, and I have done it myself in the past to kind of keep track of whether or not I am taking good enough care of myself, because if my mood starts to dip, it typically means that I'm not looking out for me. Other people might find that it helps them to track the effectiveness of new medications if they need them for managing anxiety or ADHD behaviors or depression. On the flip side, if you're prescribed a medication that's not for managing your mood, but it also can be a side effect, then it can be a good idea to keep an eye on that by tracking it. But also, it's kind of just really fun to keep a mood tracker. I find them really enjoyable, especially when they're set up something like this. I've divided my page into something of a grid, just to give me a bit of an idea of where to place all of these stamps, because they're all different shapes and sizes, so it's kind of just a guideline. And for every day of October, there is a different little illustrative stamp that the winner of the journal can colour in a colour that represents their mood based on a little key that I'll put down the bottom in a minute. The stamps I'm using here are from the Quirky Cup Collective, from their Fantasy and Fiction set, and also from their Practical Magic set. And the reason I like this kind of mood tracker so much is because at the end of the month, even if you've had a really terrible month and your mood has been really low the whole time, if you have filled out your mood tracker, you've got this colourful, pretty page. So even through some hard times, you have made something beautiful, and I think that's really cool. I've cut out all of the times I had to go through and recount how many stamps I'd done, so I knew how many more I needed, but I've got 31 on the page now, so I'm jumping in with a really fine Saccharopigma micron, just a little one, and adding a little number next to each stamp, so the winner of the journal knows which one to colour in for which day. The little stars down the bottom with the faces next to them, those are the key, so they can add a little bit of colour in each of those to assign a colour to each of those moods. I've given them some extra blank ones too, one on the left and one on the right. I didn't space them out very well, but those are for them to assign any other moods that aren't covered by the mood tracker faces that I have drawn there. And I'm using a white paint marker just to cover up any little spots where the edges of the stamp that weren't supposed to touched the page, and left a little mark. Now, there isn't a lot of room here for washi tapes and stickers. Obviously there's a lot going on here already, but I did feel like it wasn't quite giving me enough. I wanted some more something here, so I'm just going through with the tiny little star stamp, filling in any gaps with that, and then I'm going to jump back in with those two tombos and colour those in, so there's a little bit of colour already on the page. Obviously there's going to be a lot more colour when it's all filled in at the end of October with all of the mood colours, but just for now I wanted it to be a little bit more than it was. Our next spread is a meal planner, and I really feel like this is something that everyone can benefit from, whether you are a parent and you're planning for a whole family, or if you're just planning for yourself and you want to be taking more care with what you eat or saving money by buying food in bulk where you can. Knowing what you're going to eat and when is really helpful, as far as knowing what needs to be in your shopping list and knowing what you're going to be doing about food from one day to the next. This meal planner is set up as a single page calendar, so there is space here to put, if you're using one dot grid row for each meal, then breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack on each one of these days. And on the facing page, I'm going to have space for a shopping list, because it's always helpful to know what you need to buy when you've decided that you're going to make these things. I'm a really big fan of meal prepping because I hate cooking, so doing all of it in one go is much more preferable to me rather than cooking every day, but I know that's not the case for everyone, so I wanted to leave this fairly open-ended so it could be used in a variety of ways, because I never know when I'm setting this up where the journal's actually going to go. And I find the calendar style for this is really helpful too if you are someone who maybe works outside of your home and you get some of your meals out. Maybe you buy your lunch out somewhere, or you go out with friends after work for dinner. You can put that kind of thing in the calendar, and then you know not to budget for those meals as far as what you're making at home. So I love a good calendar. I did not make Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday stickers for this calendar though, so I have referred to the existing ones and I'm just trying to recreate them with a Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip brush pen. They worked okay. They're not as good as the printed ones, but they'll do the job. Of course, we need some decoration, because we always need some decoration. And on the right page, I'm just going to add the shopping list spaces by adding some second line highlights with the colored pens. This is supposed to be pretty open-ended as well, so that the winner of the journal can just make lists as needed. They can divide them into week 1, week 2, week 3, whatever they prefer, or they can just have it by meal. Instead, if there's a specific recipe, they can put the ingredients for that recipe together. However this works best for them is what's great for me. The meal planning spread is done, so let's turn the page and move on to our next pair of pages. The one on the left here is the spending log, and this is the one that never changes. Even in my own journal years and years ago, I set this up exactly this way because I really just think it works and I can't think of ways to vary it, and I wouldn't really want to. So the same thing over and over again. It has to happen somewhere, and for me that is the spending log. Way back at the beginning of this journal, there is a cash flow tracker that is for tracking income as well as money that's going out. So this page every month is designed to help with that, to be a space to write down money that's being spent and put it into a category so that you can keep track of it and then go back to that cash flow spread at the start of the journal and log some of your monthly stuff. I used to do this in my own journal as well. I don't do it in my own bullet journal anymore, but I do have a whole journal that is just for my finances. I fell off it for a bit earlier this year, but I'm getting back into it. I'm using it again now, and it feels really good. So I do recommend. Keeping track of your money doesn't sound like much fun, but it is actually really useful. And on the right page here, I'm just doing a bit of decoration a bit generally and adding a memories heading. This one is for the winner of the journal to use in whatever way they like to keep track of wonderful things that happen, or maybe not so wonderful things, but important things that happen in the month of October 2025. Junk journal or photographs or some long form journaling, anything goes there, which is why I've left it very open. Likewise with this next spread, this one I'm going to decorate quite minimally as well because this one is literally a spare spread. This journal's not for me and I don't know everybody's needs, so I like to build in a pre-decorated but mostly empty spread so that if there's anything they need that I haven't included, they can add it here without too much pressure. I always like to send a little bit extra of the stationery that I use for each setup along with the journal too, so if there isn't anything else that they want to add, they can just have fun decorating this page with some more of the stickers and tapes and stuff and have a good time with it, so it doesn't have to stay blank even if they don't have a purpose for it. Let's move on now to the first of our weekly spreads. Weeklies in my own journal are where I spend the most time, so I like to make sure that they are really functional but also super pretty for whoever ends up with the journal. This first one we're setting up here I like to call the SWOT analysis weekly because it kind of works in a similar way. You divide each of the pages into 4, so you divide each page horizontally and vertically and you're left with 4 quadrants, which across the spread, if you do it on both pages, means that you now have 8 little sections, which is one more than the number of days in a week. Funny that. The one that's left over you can use for a note section if you find that's something that's useful to you, or you can just fill it in with decoration. Either way works really well. You can also divide the page up with lines and a ruler if you prefer, but I'm going with washi tapes this time because I thought it would be good bang for your buck. So you're getting that page division, but you're also getting some decoration at the same time. I'm going to be adding a note section rather than decoration in my 8th section, so I wanted to get my decoration in wherever I could. If you recall the September setup in the mystery journal, I used some stickers from Sterling ink to be the headings for each of the days of the weeklies, and because of the way the days fell in September, I ended up wrapping around a couple of those September days to this first weekly for October. So I'm going to use those last couple of stickers here, even though they don't really match with the rest of the theme, but I have made my own stickers for the rest of the weeklies throughout October, so we will switch over to those after these first 2. The September stickers don't have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of indicator on them, which is great because it makes them work in several years. So I'm just adding a little circle that I'm putting that in for those ones. But the stickers I made for the rest of the month do have that. So I'm just not going to fill those in for those. They're just purely decorative for the rest. But for the first 2, they do actually serve a function. Do you know what I didn't make though is note stickers to match, and I really should have thought of that. So for the note section, I'm just going to do that one by hand. We're looking pretty good here for this first weekly spread, but I think I want to add some of those cloud stickers to it so everything really ties in well together. So once we have the clouds on there, we can move on to our next weekly. October weekly spread number 2. I'm going to add some vertical decoration this time, and the actual planning space itself will be horizontal. I absolutely love that this gothic washi tape works in any direction. It can go horizontal, it can go vertical. You can make it diagonal too if you want. I don't tend to do that very often, but I really enjoy that about it. And I think the pink tape as well that I'm using down the bottom there can also work in a really similar way. I'm deliberately going asymmetrical this time because I didn't want to include a note section for this spread, so instead I'm just having a gap where the notes or the 8th space would go, and I'm going to use it for some more decoration instead. Since I'm adding all of my headers for each day of the week as a sticker, and it has a white background that will make it stand out from anything, I thought it would be fun to add this washi tape along the left side of these planning spaces so that that can act as an anchor and somewhere to sit this sticker over the top. It also gives us a little bit more colour on the page without me having to do more second line highlights, because I didn't really think that would work in these narrow sections as well as it does when you're doing a vertical weekly. And this washi tape is just really pretty, so any chance I get to look at it some more, I will take it. This one's from the Quirky Cup Collective as well, in case you were wondering. There's a little bit more negative space to fill in, so a bit more decoration to go, but that's the basis of this weekly. It's a pretty simple one. If you consider for the first weekly, the SWOT analysis one, that we divided the page into 2 in each direction, for this one it's kind of a similar concept, but you're dividing it horizontally into 3 instead of just 2. So you're going to end up with a grid of 6 on each page instead of a grid of 4. No, there are not 12 days in a week, but do you know what those extra spaces will afford us? Room for decoration, and that is something that I love. The areas that are getting the second line highlight treatment are the areas that the planning is going to happen in, and everywhere that is still white is a space that is going to be used for pretty. The first time I saw this weekly used was by a creator called Ruthie Journals, so I call it the Ruthie Journals weekly quite often, but it can be a little tricky to decorate this one because you might feel like you just have things floating in space, so I recommend that you use a little bit of everything that you've used to decorate elsewhere in the setup in order to make this one feel full. We're going for layers, we're going for texture, we're going for color, and we're going for distribution, if that makes sense. Not me forever changing my mind about where I want things on the page. A tip that I have for you if you do decide to peel things up that you've already placed down is to peel it back on itself on as much of an angle as you can. So peel it so it's kind of going all the way back over in the direction of the paper horizontally again. And that way you're least likely to tear your page, at least in my experience. I think they tell you to do the same thing with painter's tape when you've just painted a wall. Was my brain actually switched on when I was setting this up? Nobody can say, because for some reason I have gone straight to the 20th, 21st here when I still have the stickers on my page for like the 13th, 14th. That was not smart of me, but it's okay. I will realize later, I will come back and fix it, and all of my stickers will peel up okay, so no need to fret. You can really see what the vibe of the spread is though, even with that mistake, and I think it looks really fun and cute, and there's lots of room for planning on this one too, which is always fantastic. Let's turn the page and move on to the next one. This is another horizontal style, but rather than being condensed into little boxes, these horizontal planning spaces take up the whole page from left to right. I'm also going to deliberately stagger them so there's a little bit of room at the top of the left page and at the bottom of the right page for me to add some decoration, because I love my decoration, and I'm going to add a little bit of layered decoration behind the header for each day of the week too, just so that I can get some more pretty on the page because I enjoy that. Are you ready to see me work out that I messed up my stickers on the previous spread? Look at this hesitation when I go, wait, what are these doing here? Wait, what did I put over here? Oh no, Erin, you did the wrong stickers, but that's okay. I have sticker tweezers and I'm not afraid to use them. Let's move these stickers over to the spread they're actually supposed to be on, and then repopulate the old one with the stickers that were actually supposed to be there in the first place. As far as bullet journal mistakes go, this one was pretty minor, but if all else failed, I guess you could just use the pages out of order. I have been known to accidentally set up my weeklies in completely the wrong place and then put them within a different month, so all sorts of things can go wrong, but the beauty of the bullet journal method is that you can just move things around and do them in whatever order you like, so there's always a solution to be found. You know how they say pets always know when you need them? Mitsu clearly could tell that I was getting really frustrated with my incorrect stickering because he came to visit me on the desk. What a sweetheart. That's so nice. I actually stopped the camera and we had a little cuddle break, and then I got back to work. Minor crisis averted, we can move on to our next and final weekly for the month of October in the Mystery Journal. It had been quite a while since I'd done just a standard vertical weekly, so I thought it might be time to bring one of those back. We're basically dividing the page into 4 columns with a bit of space at the top and bottom, and we're doing that across both pages, so we'll end up with 8 columns. Of course, you know what those are for. 7 of them are for planning and 1 is for notes, but I still don't have any notes sticker headings, so I'm gonna have to hand letter that again, but that's okay. Naturally, this leaves some nice space at the bottom and top of the spread to add decoration, and because I'm working with washi tape, it's very quick and easy to fill that space. This was around the time I realized I hadn't factored in the width of the columns when I made these stickers, and I thought, okay, we'll have to alternate top and bottom, right? But then I thought, if we're going to alternate top and bottom anyway, this is a chance to add a little bit more pretty. So I'm repeating something I did on an earlier weekly. That one was a horizontal weekly, and I added a vertical strip of this tape. This time instead, because it's a vertical weekly, I'm adding the tape horizontally, and I'm going to cut it along each of the weeklies so that I can move a little slab of it down to the bottom and use that to act as the anchor for my heading for that weekly. There's definitely a trick to this whole slicing washi tape with a craft knife while it's already stuck to your page thing, and that trick is that you need to have fairly thick paper in your journal. If you have thin paper, it's probably just going to slice right through the paper as well as the washi tape, which is not what we want. So I wouldn't try this in a Hobonichi, for instance, but I'm working with 160 GSM dot grid paper in this TIEFOSSI journal, and it can hold up to a craft knife pretty well, so I didn't have any fear while doing this. Another thing I didn't factor in when making the stickers for this setup, unfortunately, is that October ends on a Friday when the 31st falls, but I would still have 2 more days, the Saturday and Sunday of this weekly, that I would need headings for, so I thought maybe I can recreate this text style with my broad nib pen. And I tried an S and I went, oh no, absolutely not. So I'm just going to hand letter them quite normally with a Pigma Micron on some sticker paper, and then cut that out with some scissors in order to try and make it look in a similar kind of vein to the shape of the stickers that I cut with my Cricut. So rectangles with rounded corners that I'm just going to DIY with some stickers. They aren't perfect, but I do think they do the job pretty well. All we need now is some clouds on this spread, and then I declare that October in the Mystery Journal is complete. So let's have a flip through from start to finish. I didn't set out to make a Whimsigoth theme, but I really do think that is where we've ended up. A little bit spooky, a little bit fantasy, a little bit fairy tale, and a little bit 90s too, I think, which I really enjoy. I'm very excited to get into theme planning on a live stream with my channel members really soon for the next Mystery Journal, so if that's something you'd like to be involved in and you haven't yet joined the channel on the Page Majors or Jubilant Journals levels, there is a join link in the description. You can click on that to get all the information about what it costs to be a channel member and what is included. I am so excited about the overarching theme for the next Mystery Journal. I think I'm going to have so much fun setting it up, so I can't wait to brainstorm on that with my channel members really soon. I also can't wait to set up October in my own journal really soon too, because I've had this idea in my head for almost a year and I can't wait to see if I can execute it. If you're keen to see what that looks like, make sure you're subscribed so that you can see that video when it's ready too. Thank you so much for planning along with me. Just in case you're keen to keep watching, here is a playlist of all of the Mystery Journal setups so far this year, and underneath that is a link to a video that YouTube thinks you might enjoy.